Yes, I am preaching today. I haven't been up here in a little while. And I can go as long as I want. Because I know that most of the teams you all root for either play late today or are on bye. So, yeah. So, I am actually in the preaching class currently. I know it does seem a little weird, even to me, that I'm taking a class for something I've already done a few times. But it is one of the 25 required classes before I can be considered for ordination. And the class is less about the theology of preaching. There are at least 5 of the 25, if not more, that touch on that in some way or another. This is mostly just about how to actually preach, the forms, the art of it. I've been learning quite a bit. It's been fun listening to Pastor Ryan and going, oh, okay, I just read about that. Or part of our class requirements is to actually go out and find other pastors who aren't ours and listen to them. And they're come to find out there's a pastor who created this entire own form of preaching and sticks to it every single sermon. As soon as someone started talking about that, because I had listened to him, it's like, oh, yeah, that sermon was out on the letter. But in this class, the big assignment, the thing we have to do to finish, is write a sermon and present it, either to the class or to the congregation. So I've been just kind of following along with Pastor Ryan in my reading. We've been in the same passage of Matthew for several weeks now, and we're in it for at least another couple. So I was writing a sermon on a section of this. Figure out, get it done, listen to how Pastor Ryan does it, see how I'm feeling, see how the two of us think. And then he asked me if I just want to actually just preach it. Yes. So we're going to be in Matthew chapter 5, as we have been, verses 43 through 48. So if you got your device, your Bible, turn there. We're going to be there in just a moment. And yes, none of you missed anything. And yes, we are skipping a section. There's one section, the eye for an eye. Pastor Ryan's going to come back to that next week. He's going to double back and get that. I just have to be writing on the next section. So we are skipping one, but we will come back. No big deal there. So like I said, we've been in the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus has been on a mountain, a hillside. He's got his disciples gathered around him. He's teaching them. And of course, whenever Jesus is anywhere outside, it seems like there's a large crowd of people following him around, listening to what he has to say, probably thinking he's a little insane at times. And we've been doing the same pattern for all of these things. You have heard it said this, but Jesus says this. You have heard it said, do not murder. But Jesus says, don't kill with your words. You've heard it said, do not commit adultery. But Jesus says, do not look at someone lustfully. You've heard it said, you may get a divorce. Jesus says, do not accept for sexual immorality. You've heard it said, do not break your oath. But Jesus says, just don't make one. Just let your yes be yes, and your no be no. Like I said, we are jumping one section. The next one will be an eye for an eye. Pastor Ryan will bring us that portion of the word next week. So we're jumping to the love your enemies. So, in the scripture, Jesus says, you have heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and unrighteous. If you love those who love you, what reward will you get? Are not even the tax collectors doing that? And if you greet only your own people, what are you doing more than others? Do not even pagans do that? Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. Let us pray. Lord, thank you for your word. Thank you for your teachings, for having a way to let us see into you. I pray that as we unpack this little portion, that it connects with us throughout your whole world and our whole world, Lord. I pray that you open our hearts, see what you want us to see, and that we walk away here with something new from you. In your name, amen. Okay, so you've heard it said, love your neighbor, hate your enemy. Now, Jesus has been kind of correcting thought patterns here, and I discovered that this one was wrong before it. This is wrong before Jesus even got to it. The love your neighbor part, we get that. We've heard that preached, we've heard that taught. Jesus himself, when prompted later on in Matthew 22 about what the greatest commandment is, we know, he lays it out. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. But without prompting, and immediately he follows it with, in the second, it's like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. To do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Golden rule. When I was in school, it was on walls everywhere. They took the scripture reference off of it, so that way they couldn't get in trouble. But it was on the walls everywhere. So I did a little word study on these. And the phrase, love your neighbor, Jesus right here, is literally word for word exactly the same as when he quotes it later on. Greek has variants and words that we know. We have the word love. We have one word. I found 4 different words for love in Greek. All of them something different. But this is verbatim. Love your neighbor. A conjugation of agape that I will not even attempt to say because I will butcher it. So, Blasian. We've heard that term already a couple times. Blasian literally translates to as neighbor, as in every other person that is not you. So my Blasian is literally every person on the planet who is not me. So how do you love your neighbor if you're supposed to love him? Or how do you hate your enemy? How do you hate someone if you're supposed to love everyone? Doesn't quite work. Period. So, Jesus is correcting us. See, what he goes after is not to love your neighbor. That's good. We know that's good. Jesus tells us that's good. He goes after the hate your enemy. So, Jesus says to love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. So I got to asking the question, who is an enemy? Who is my enemy? So just like Pastor Ryan's been doing, I went over to Merriam-Webster and decided to see what they had to say. Enemy has 3 different definitions depending on your context. And the one that fits here is an enemy is one that is antagonistic to another, especially one seeking to injure, overthrow, or confound an opponent. Your enemy is anyone who is antagonistic, especially if they're seeking to hurt you, overthrow you in some capacity, or can cause you a great deal of trouble moving forward. These are the people we're supposed to, that Jesus is saying to love. Love in this context, both places is agape. Perfect love. Unmerited, unconditional, makes absolutely no sense to you and I. Love. God's love for us. This is the form of love that is being said here. And hate is the opposite of love. It's the opposite end of the spectrum. Now to the Jews, hearing Jesus say this is going to suck. Period. They are an occupied people. They can do nothing unless Rome says okay. They don't like this. They are persecuted. They have no authority to do anything in their own law unless Rome goes, okay. It's the whole reason Jesus had to be hauled in front of Pontius Pilate and why they kept demanding that Pilate do something. They could not do anything until Rome said, okay. So they're getting told, love your neighbor, love your enemy, love the Romans, love the people who are occupying our country, love the people who are demanding that we do all sorts of things, pay our taxes to them, all this stuff. We all know we don't like being told what to do. They're right there with us. But for us, for me, I had to ask the question, who is my enemy? I can't think of anybody, period, that fits that definition with me. To my knowledge, there is no one who is seeking to physically injure me, to overthrow me, not a whole lot to overthrow me in, or to confound me. And I am not actively seeking to do that to anybody else. Some of you may have real enemies, people who are trying to do this to you. Some of you may have faced real persecution. I haven't. I've had people who said they don't like what I have to say. More power to you. We turn, we walk away from each other, there's the end of the story. But so am I off the hook for this? Am I good? I can't hate someone who doesn't exist. As long as I'm in the right mental state, I can't. No. Jesus doesn't leave us like that. He doesn't leave us there. He gets done with the correction, then he jumps into the story. It's two parallel stories are stated here. He states one that's God's side of the story, and one that's man's side of the story. On God's side, he says that God sends the sun, big yellow ball of burning gas that circles us, to rise and set on everything, evil and good. Romans, Jews. America, Europe, Africa, take your pick, whatever two groups you want to put in there. The sun rises on everybody, it sets on everybody. The rain comes on the righteous and the unrighteous. It's the same concept. God does not discriminate. He has gifts that he will send to everybody. Both basic stuff. The sun rising is a pretty basic thing for us. We understand how it works. The rain, the wind. Some of his most extraordinary gifts. Medical science. The fact that he created everything so that we can figure out how to take things that are bad and stop them. Gets to go into everybody. Well, obviously, there's some discrepancies depending on where you live, but it sends it to everybody. For one reason. It sends it to all of his creation because we are his creation. He sends it to all of us because he created us. Period. That is him showing his love to us. Because the Bible's pretty clear on it. At one point, I was an enemy of God. At one point, every one of you was an enemy of God. It says it. While we were still antagonistic, his enemies, he sent Jesus to take care of it. To open the path back up to get us to be able to get back into a relationship with him. So we were all in that enemy category at one point or another. And he still sent. So there's God. There's God's side of it. God's perfect side of it. Now, us. Man's side of it. Yeah, we don't do so well. On man's side of the story, he points out two things. We love those who love us, and we greet our own people. So if you only love those who love you, Jesus literally says, okay, great, you're not really doing much. That's a paraphrase, obviously, but he's literally saying, great, you literally are doing nothing more than anyone else. We're supposed to show love to everyone. Greet your own. The word there that we saw is pagan. It translates, in other translations, as Gentile. And when I was doing a little more digging, it can translate as heathen. The idea is literally anyone who doesn't belong to the same group as you in whatever context you want to use. It is your others. That's literally what it means. You show love to your others. Who are they? You want to figure out who your others are, who the other groups are. I've got a really simple thing for you to do to go to find out. Go on Facebook and just start spinning the scroll wheel down and look at all of the posts. I did this. I have 240-ish friends. See how many I have after the sermon. I have 240-ish friends. that I just started scrolling down, seeing what's posted. The complaints, the ha-ha joke memes. And I noticed some stuff. I noticed that I got some liberal friends who love attacking the conservatives. I have conservative friends who do the same thing back. I have Democratic friends who are Democrats, and they're attacking the Republicans, and vice versa. It's not with men and women, but what I see the absolute most of, baby boomers to millennials, millennials to baby boomers. That one was the one that just flooded was the most. Men and women, take your pick. Thankfully, I didn't see anything that was race-based in my Facebook feed. But all you gotta do is look at a newspaper and realize that's another group of others out there. There are people out there who their other is someone whose skin is darker than their own, or lighter. These are the people Jesus is telling us, hey, you need to greet them. You need to love them. Now he lays out these two stories for a point that took me a little while to find, and I found it was quite amazing. I think it might be because I'm looking forward to when it starts happening in my own life. We're called to be God's children. It caps kind of right in the middle of this story. He says, love your enemy, pray for those that persecute you, so you may be children of your Father in heaven. Then he ends it with the command to be perfect, like God is perfect. That word is deceptive right there. It's deceptive in the scriptures. Yes, it translates as perfect, but what I understand as perfect is not what it means. My understanding of perfect is without blemish, flaw, nothing wrong with it. It is literally perfection. And you're not supposed to use the word to define the word. The word that translates there is more akin to drawing nearer to completion. Drawing nearer to completion. The point I think Jesus is trying to make here is with children. I've done ministry long enough with young people to know something. Little kids emulate their parents. Period. You see it in the little pictures and videos of the dad who's mowing the lawn and the little kid who's chasing dad with a toy lawnmower. That toy lawnmower is not doing anything, but he's being just like dad. Listen to kids long enough and you hear them say little things that you know came from mom and dad. Because that little kid is way too little to have an opinion on what they just spoke about, let alone to understand the words they just said. You see it in teenagers. You hang around teens and their parents long enough, you will see mom and dad in the teen. You will see it in the way they hold themselves. They'll say a phrase, and you would have sworn their parent was in the room, not them. The way they think. My wife likes to point out things that is true with me and my dad. I will do things or say things, and she's like, oh, I know where you got that from. I get that now. Well, we had to live with my parents for a little while there when we were wrapping school up, and she got a first-hand notice of that. You probably will get very few teens to ever admit that they're still watching, but they're watching. I think this is what Jesus is trying to get us to. Children emulate their parents. The idea that we need to be perfect like God, we need to be drawing more to completion, drawing more to be like God in His love. So he lays out two stories. He lays out God in His perfect love. This, I'm going to love all of you. Not to say there won't be consequences, but I'm going to love all of you because you're mine. And us who say, you're not part of me, sorry, goodbye. Jesus is telling us we need to act more like God, to love our others, to love the people that aren't always in our groups, or not part of our groups. It's a hard concept for us. We all have people that we know. I have 3 customers that I can name, and I see their company name come across the caller ID at work, and I physically groan. My bosses laughed at me for this. I groaned. Why? I know what's coming when I pick up that phone. I know the conversation is going to be 4 times longer than it needed to be because they're long-winded and sometimes they don't actually listen to what I'm telling them. I know that about a third of the way through that conversation, I'm going to have a headache from dealing with them. And on one of the 3, at the end of the conversation, I know that I still won't get the sale because for some reason he doesn't actually ever buy anything. I don't know why I call him a customer because he doesn't actually buy anything from me. He just picks our brains. Sad part is, of course, he picks my brain and then disregards everything I tell him, so it doesn't do him any good. We all have people like that in our lives. You all have somebody that when you're on your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever you do, and you see their name and your eyes roll. You see the person in the grocery store and you kind of, I'm going to go down to the next aisle. We all have them. Jesus is saying, great, you can love your neighbor. You can love your own. You're just not getting anything done. You need to love that person. Jesus is our Savior. Straight up, straight out. If you believe he did what he did, he is your Savior. But he needs to be our Lord. If he's our Lord, we need to be listening to what he says. That's been one of the driving points of every single one of these things. Jesus is talking. This entire passage, I've got a red letter Bible. Jesus speaks, it's in red. Everything in this passage is red. It's Jesus speaking. Are we listening? And so it's hard to do this initially. I'm sure even when you're years and years down the road of loving on everybody, it's still hard. People are people. But you need to love your other. You need to ask Jesus to help you with that. I need to ask Jesus to help me with that. Because it's hard. That groan most of the time is involuntary. It is an immediate gut reaction because I saw something. You need to ask. I need to ask Jesus to help me with that. We all do. If you are nowhere even on the start of this journey, you've been coming a few weeks, coming the first week, whatever, you're here and you've heard about Jesus, you need to ask him. Ask him to enter your life. You could be on this step with the same step I'm at, where Jesus has been talking to you, you got a relationship with him, and he's saying, hey, a little bit more. Here's another thing to work on. Ask him for help. So our altars are always open. Always. If you want to come down and pray about this right now, you can tune out the rest of what I'm about to say. Come down and get before Jesus and talk to him. He's a better person to listen to than I am. Every time. If you want to pray about this right where you're sitting, be my guest. Do it. Go before God. If you need to go home and take some time to keep chewing on this concept of loving your other, go home, do it. Ask Jesus what he says about it. If you have no idea who your other is, you think your life is perfect and you've got none, go home and ask Jesus. He's going to point something out to you. Guaranteed. I can guarantee that. If you've been listening to me this whole time thinking Kevin has no idea what he's talking about, he's off his rocker, whatever, cool, more power to you, go home, ask Jesus. Go home and ask Jesus, what does Jesus have to say about this? You may hear the same thing I heard. You may hear something slightly different. One of the beauties of Scripture is every one of us can read the same passage and we pick up on other things. Or you can read the same passage 5 years down the line, and you'll still see something different. The point is, ask Jesus to help you love your